Hey, this is Marvin at Driven by Graphics, and I just wanted to come to you real quick and show a quick video on use of Print Manager with Sawgrass Printer. Basically, just kind of go through the steps using Silhouette Studio as a design program. So let me hop right into it. This is a design that I've opened up into Silhouette Studio. If I click on it here, you'll see that it's set up as 12.5 wide by 18.5 high. I've went ahead and set my canvas size to 13 by 19. That's the page size that I'm going to be printing on here in a moment. And basically just have all this set up. I did go ahead and select the design, and I centered it on my page using the alignment tools here. And we'll basically just go ahead and go print. Here I'm going to select the Sawgrass or Virtuoso Print Manager. There is a newer version that's out now that is the Sawgrass Print Manager, but if you're using a Sawgrass printer, you will want to use the Print Manager software, whichever version that you have installed. So prior to clicking Print, I'm going to click on Preferences. This is the same thing you'd want to do regardless of program that you're using, whether you're printing from Photoshop, CorelDRAW, Illustrator, so on and so forth. You want to select Print Manager as your actual printer. It is a virtual printer when you run on Windows. It's not an actual physical printer. And then you'll click on Preferences. The point of Preferences is to select your paper size. Here by default it's got letter size, which is 8.5 by 11 selected. Legal is your 8.5 by 14, and then there's a handful of the A sizes here, 11 by 17. I'm going to be printing on 13 by 19, and so I'll choose that. There is a way you can add some custom page sizes and things like that. I won't go into that in this video, but that's definitely possible to do. Again, I'm going to pick 13 by 19, click OK. Again, that basically saves it within this window. It's going to tell Print Manager that you're using that 13 by 19 page size, and then I'm going to click Print. It'll take a moment. Basically, it's saving this image and sending it over to Print Manager in preparation for printing process. It'll automatically open up Print Manager here in just a moment. Sometimes quicker than others. It is running here. So there it is popping up. Alright, and so here's my design. You can see it is already mirrored by default. It's checked. A lot of times here I try to explain this by using the speed portion first, and your version may look different than this. Again, this is a little bit of an older version, but I like to use high quality. The reason I mention this and choosing this first is because if you change this, say to high speed, the options in these lists can change. For example, if I choose the advanced photo option, there's only your Chromolux, Duralux, and your Chromolux EXT products listed in there. So I typically am on high quality, and in this case this is going to be on polyester, so I'll go down to polyester fabric. My paper, I'm using Condi's Dytrans paper right now, and so for that I use the Media Street 31 pound paper selection here. I also use a lot of text print R paper as well, and in that case I would choose that setting. Again, in this case I'm going to use the Dytrans, and for the Dytrans paper I use the Media Street paper setting there. This will be printing, because it's 13 by 19, to the bypass tray. Typically I manually set this. You can auto select. I manually select it. I almost always print to the bypass tray. And now I'll go ahead and go over some of these other tabs up here. Your layout tab, I never change in here because I do preserve that layout from my designer, and that's in this case Silhouette is the design program that I am printing from. If you want any changes to be made, for example this to be resized and things of that nature, you can come in here and select different paper sizes, and then actually change it on the Jobs tab as well in terms of some sizing. But I don't do any of that. I always leave this on, this was the default setting, preserve layout from designer, and that's the setting that I go with. Jobs, again, provide your design size, your 13 by 19. It's not exactly 13, that's just with the Windows driver type settings. You'll see your 300 pixels per inch and then 1 copy. If in some cases that I want to print, 2, 3, 5, 10, whatever the case may be, copies of this, this is where I increment that and say if I want to do 10, it'll change it here. You'll see now it's page 1 of 10, right? It's better to do that here as opposed to in Silhouette. If I had done it here, for example, and changed this number of copies, what it does, it basically saves out 10 different images and sends each of those into here, into your print manager. It basically is just going to take longer because the file size to do that is larger than, because the multiple copies it's saving over. It's easier to just increment the copies here in Print Manager. Hopefully that makes sense. We'll go over to the color tab. On the color tab, there's a handful of different color mode settings. I typically always use the graphic setting, and I can see if I can put in the description of this video what the definitions of each of these are. Again, in the newer version, there is only the photographic and vivid color modes that are available. I believe they're still defined the same as far as I know, but they are limited to those two modes only. I typically, again, use the graphic mode. And that's all that's here, and then I don't change anything here I don't print a file or annotate page. And then you would just select print, and then that would send the job with all the color corrections, with all the settings based on your substrates, your paper, so on and so forth, with all the settings you've done. It'll send that, it'll optimize it and send it to the printer to be printed. So hopefully that makes sense and covers everything within Print Manager for you. Feel free to comment or message me if you have any questions. Thanks.